All right, welcome back to Scene, proudly brought to you by Sked Social, the social media management platform built for marketers who are trying to do good work without losing their minds. Today's guest is Medya Gungor, account director at Zeno London, and this chat is properly good if you work anywhere near content, social, brand, or creative. We got into why so much brand content still feels forced, why audiences are way better at spotting try-hard marketing than most teams realize, and why the brands actually winning right now are thinking less about what should we post and more about what problem are we solving for people. We also spoke about creators, culture, community, why vanity metrics are starting to mean less and less, and why some of the smartest brand work happening right now doesn't even start on social. This one felt like two people trying to make sense of where the internet's heading, what people actually care about right now, and how brands can stop being background noise. Let's get into it. Medya, I was saying before we clicked record that in my head I've been saying your name Medya, and I'm like, I reckon that's definitely not how you pronounce your name. So sorry.
No, it's quite fun. I feel like you went in with it. Yeah, Medya, Meds. Honestly, lot can call me whatever. We're chill. I feel like we're cool at this point.
And you're from the UK, so it's always good to talk to someone with a cool accent. So, and on the other side of the world, literally. But yeah, been loving your work, like going through your LinkedIn and just seeing your experience and your journey through content and stuff like that. I feel like this is going to be a ripper chat. But yeah, we'd kind of love to just start by like your journey into what you do now at Zeno London. Like, what is your role? I feel like it's a bit of everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my role at the minute, I'm an account director on the Digi team at Zeno London. So Zeno are a PR communications agency. That's their kind of like OG bread and butter. But I'm a part of the Digi team, which is obviously a massive part of what we do. And as we were literally just saying a minute ago, those worlds are so intertwined now. It's not, social is like so past being like an afterthought for those kind of activities. So I'm in the Digi team. Like we've got some wicked people over here. A lot of what we do at the minute is, obviously our PR and social clients kind of like tie into one a lot of the time, which is cool. We get a lot of like organic growth from that. And we're doing a lot of creator work at the minute. I'm kind of like heading up that stuff for the UK, which is pretty cool. And yeah, mate, we're doing a lot of interesting things, to be fair. I don't know about you as well, but I feel like since maybe like November, it's been crazy busy, like honestly, like non-stop. I'm like, we're like rushing around like crazy, but it's good and it's nice to be busy because it's just that like affirmation of like, the work's going where it needs to, people are coming back. So it's all feeling really positive at the minute.
And you would have seen the full change, hey, from like, we were just saying like 10 years ago, but even like a year ago with how quick social and all that moves. Like, what was it for you where you were like, hey, I could be really good at this. Like, this is like a career move that I want to do. Or did you like fall into it?
Yeah, I feel like to be honest, I got into social because I'd like moved to London, like fresh out of uni, and then an Aussie gap year, obviously, and then yeah, moved back to London and got like this kind of like really rogue little like hospo staffing job. Did that for like 6 months, and then obviously like most of the things around that time, COVID hit. So I was furloughed. It was like the hottest summer on record for the UK. So this was like, everyone was like, okay, this is great. And I just had so much time on my hands. So I started writing, I was like blogging, I was doing a lot of like freelance writing around like music and like all of different things like that for like a few online publications. And then through that, I was kind of doing that for a few months. And it was nice. And I was like, wow, I actually like really enjoy this. And then one of my best friend's sisters got in contact. She could see me like posting this stuff. And she was like, you should apply for a job at our like small, tight knit 10 people social agency. There's an account exec role, but we need someone who can write. And like, I've actually realized that writing is like such a huge skill. Like you kind of, maybe they just don't drill it into you enough on like these like courses and like uni degrees we do, but it is massive. Because it's like, copy comes into absolutely everything, right? Your day to day, and then like larger pieces, smaller pieces. So I started working for that agency. Shout out Truffle Social. Honestly, they're wicked. Had a few years there, which is absolutely great. And then I guess you just start of like learning about like social and like I feel like you're so going to relate to this, but like you learn it all on the job. Like you don't, that you learn by living in and out of the platform. You learn by like getting things wrong and all like different client needs and like working over a spectrum of clients and stuff. So yeah, kind of fell into it that way and then realized I absolutely love it because, as you know, like no 2 days are the same. Like you're like running around shooting content one day, doing something like heavier the next, or you're doing a pitch, or like it's just fun. It's fast paced. I feel like I'm that kind of person. I just need that constant like stimulation of different things. But I've worked in like, a lot of different backgrounds. I've worked in more traditional, bigger ad agencies as well. I wanted to like dip my toe in that. I feel like, I'm still only like 6 or 7 years into my career, but I'm like, I want to try everything. Because how do you know unless you're kind of plonked into all those different environments? Like it's just good to like test the waters. And then must have been like 2 years ago, I've only been at Zeno. I was just like looking for something new. I think I also wanted to leave like it's like a 200 people agency. I kind of felt maybe I wasn't being like seen as much as I would have been liked. So then, the job at Zeno came up and I was chatting to them and I was basically like, look, these are the things I want to be doing. And like, does that align with you guys? And like, fair play, like they've been absolutely amazing. It's been so well. I feel like what they're really good at as an agency is like, they'll look at people and be like, okay, that's your person for that, or their skills lie in this, or they've got a passion for F1 or whatever it could be. Like I think they look at people no matter where you kind of sit, and they're going, okay, like we're bringing that person in, which is like such an obvious thing to do, but people miss it so often, and people get like overlooked and stuff. So mate, it's been really good. It's been a good journey, and I'm kind of loving all the work we're doing.
I love that. And I think like working in an agency, fast paced, you get feedback so quickly. And I think in a world of social and content, I think like that's a heavy part of the game a little bit, like being able to be really quick and get that feedback and see what works. Like everyone's constantly having that battle in your head. Oh, do we do this trend, or do we do this, or what kind of things do we jump on? And I think just by doing the work and having that like evidence of what like experiments and stuff, I think can really help shape like cool, like social, like where it's just like, it's like taking me on a bit of a journey. It's storytelling. Is that kind of what got you into it in the first place, was like, we can tell these stories in like entertaining ways?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's sort of just like, I guess like I see your like role when you're in an agency as like, the client's got an idea, they've got a vision, but like they don't have the expertise to like bring that to life. Like they're busy worrying about all these other operational like business things, like very different things. And like especially maybe if it is a smaller client and the budgets are smaller, like marketing and social and like all the really important stuff is kind of like the bottom of the pecking order. So it's like, it's absolutely our job to be that consultant and be that middle person and be like, we're the experts, and they trust us to do that. And we're like, this is what you should be doing. Like, these are the spaces you should be in. And like, this is where, you should be seen. And these are the conversations you should be tapping into. And like, I think we said this before, but like in a way that isn't forced, isn't try hard. Like it just needs to feel super natural and organic, and that looks different to every client, right? Like it's not, it totally depends on how they want to be perceived, how they're coming across. And I think the clients I like to work with the most are the ones who are like, I guess they're bold, and they're like, okay, no, we haven't done that, we haven't kind of used that tone, or we haven't been so playful, but we're up for it. Because I'm like, we need those risk takers out here, especially at the moment.
I love that. And I think one thing that like when you're having those chats with leadership, it's like, I think a lot of people want to see ROI, like what's the direct ROI? And I think like a lot of this like movement, culture building stuff, it's like, how do you find the metrics that actually matter? Like if people are talking about us in a different way, like maybe we just haven't seen that yet, like too quickly to sort of, or play real safe strategies for numbers kind of thing,
Yeah. I know, I hear you. And it's like, and you would have seen it as well, but like, it's so different. Like reporting now to like what it was even 2 years ago is crazy different. I mean, as like a fellow scroller, you're like, I'm not engaging for anything. Like I'm absolutely not. Like it's the competition is just so rife, and people are just engaging in like a very passive way. I feel like, unless it's something that's absolutely blowing them away. But I think we're trying to say to clients at the minute, forget the old school vanity metrics. Like, I know that they have the people they have to report to, but like, I think all that stuff should take a much more qualitative approach. And also like thinking about impact. There was one thing that really stuck with me. I went to South by Southwest it was hosted in London last summer. And there's this woman, she's called Stephanie Sword Williams, I think, and she wrote this book called Fuck Being Humble. And she gave this amazing talk, and she was basically saying about how, why don't brands start by looking at like the problems that are going on in the world and thinking, okay, like how can we come up with a solution for these? Because it's like, although like at the minute companies, they have all these like super like bold claims, it doesn't really feel like they're contributing to society. It doesn't, and there's just like all this like whatever washing, and we're all just like, oh, like the fatigue is real. So it's like, I think as a community at the minute, like people want action. They don't want words, like they don't want these like false promises. So it's like, and what she said, and this stuck with me so much, she was like, instead of thinking of briefs brand first, we should be thinking about them problem first. So like, and she gave some really like clever examples. And now I'm always trying to like think about this way in my head. But she's like, okay, like what's a problem? Maybe like women's safety walking home at night. Okay, well, why don't City Mapper? I don't know if you guys have that app out there, but it's like a kind of Google Maps app. It's like, okay, well, why don't City Mapper do something where, they're solving the problem for that? Or like, is there like a charity maybe that could be doing more in terms of like offering subsidized therapy for like mental health? It's like there are so many ways you can like reverse engineer that and think about it. And I just think it's like so smart. And it's like, that's something, that impact is something you really should be measuring as a brand. And it's like, as we said, it's so hard to get people to engage and like to care about things. But I feel like if you do something that feels super genuine and impressive, you'd hope people would want to reshare that, because it's like, if like I'm walking down the street and I see something that a brand's done and it's genuinely cool, it's like caught my eye, or it's like been thought provoking, like I'm absolutely gonna take a picture of it and put it on my story, because I want people to know that I think that. Do you know what I mean?
100%. And I think, yeah, when brands and stuff can articulate some like thoughts better than you can, it's like, it's an easy way to express how you feel to other people as well. And I think like ones who can capture even that like cultural tension, like there's stuff in the world where you can really tap into, because like it's just funny, like working in the industry and then seeing comments explode on what certain topics. And it's like, it's crazy, because I feel like it gives you a deep insight into how the everyday like people operate about life. Hey,
definitely. And like, yeah, they should be in the comments section, or like deep in like a Reddit hole, just being like, okay, like, well, what do people care about? How can we solve the problem? How can we show up and show that we care and that all this stuff, but like not in like a just super like addy in a forced way. It just needs to be like quite humble, really. And it's just that classic thing as well of like, people need to remember like no one cares about your brand as much as you. Like no one does. So how do you make them care? Okay, well, what are the people caring about? And then work backwards from that, rather than just being like shoving in face. I feel like we're like everyone's so there's just such an overload of information that people are like so like away from that right now.
I think people just are addicted to that action, where it's like they see that and they're like, oh no, they're living it. It's like, that's why I feel like the Patagonias and stuff, it's an identity. It's like, yeah, we clean up at the beaches, we look like this, we feel like this. And it's like, how can you create something that's authentic, like that's in your story around problems that, your audience and stuff is facing? And it's like, how can we address these in a cool way? It's like, I find like the coolest people, like there was a rugby player down here who gave a lot of money to charity, and he never spoke about it at all. It just like come out, like leaked out or whatever. And I was like, that is the best, because it's like you can tell he's not doing it for that. It's someone else getting hold of it. That's the rep I feel like that people are obsessed with,
Definitely. Yeah, exactly. It's like, what's the word? It's like, that's like proper altruistic, isn't it? Because it's like you're doing it, but you're not doing it for like a certain like response back. It's just like quite pure and like, yeah, organic. I totally agree.
And I think like even workplace cultures like that, when you can tell that people like bosses and leadership really want to make it a really cool place. It's like, there's no cameras here. There's no one like talent, it's just like, you genuinely want to make it like fun for you. And I feel like those sort of cultures, and I think it's like timing and stuff as well. Like,
Yeah.
like everything's got a point in time where it's luck, opportunity, and all sort of meets, and it like you feel that momentum. And
Mm.
I don't know, what do you think's important when you're like working with a team in creative, like openness to new ideas, but like also back in your gut as well and trying to convince and influence?
Yeah, I think, just think it's so important in these kind of environments to make sure that like everyone has the opportunity to speak. And like in my experience anyway, I feel like it's just that kind of classic thing of you'll be in a room. I personally think if you've got more than four people in a room, it's often the same voices that dominate, they've got years of experience, all of this stuff. And like, especially if you're junior, like that can be like super intimidating. But I think the best thing, the smartest thing, the most strategic thing you can do is like a kind of more experienced leader is just listen to the kids. Like they are living and breathing on these platforms and in these spaces that, that demographic certainly doesn't exist. So it's like, it's the most obvious, but also I find like the most often like missed opportunity in these rooms. And like, and especially, if I work with people, and sure, like they don't have that breadth of experience, but like you can see they've got that spark, they've got those ideas. It's then a case of, okay, what's going on in your head? Tell me. I can kind of understand it. You can bring me in the know. And then, maybe I can be the person that translates that to someone who necessarily wouldn't understand it if it's just like a one liner on like what the idea is. And like, God, I mean, I've had that in so many experiences where you're kind of, maybe you would have had it as well, Lachlan, where you're like trying to explain a trend to a client and you're like, God, they're not, if this doesn't play in the deck, they are not going to understand what the hell we are suggesting right now. But it's having that trust and like, yeah, encouraging everyone to be able to put their ideas forward, because like there's no such thing as a stupid question, and all ideas should be considered. I guess there's also that thing of, if you have been around for a long time, you may lack a certain inspiration that like a fresh pair of eyes could easily just like bring into the fold. You might find you're like, are you just regurgitating? Are you just recycling old stuff that you've seen versus someone who maybe has like a super, super fresh perspective?
I love that. And I think like sometimes even the smartest people who've been doing stuff for years forget that, that they got to learn new stuff too. You might be an expert. Like, well, I think the same. I'm like, I had to have that ego death where it was like, yeah, I knew all that stuff like 5 years ago. It's like things have changed. Like, I feel like I've just like, I won with that certain thing. And it's like, that's what I'm hanging my hat on. Like, what am I talking about? Like, there's more things that are coming through, and like look through it like an optimistic, futuristic kind of lens rather than sort of rest on wins kind of thing. That's all. Like, it's just like sometimes you can learn. Like, I feel like you can learn a lot more from your losses and failures as well. Like even like campaigns and ideas, and it's like, oh fuck. Like, but what about you for like trusting your gut over like data and stuff like that? Like you're saying, but you're like, hey, I want to kind of take a big swing here, or like, let me just see if this works, and like the appetite for risk, I suppose, on a lot of questions.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And like, don't get me wrong, like I think it, if you're in an environment where sometimes with a lot of clients, it is just about deliverables, especially if they're like a big corporate client, it can be hard to kind of not get to gain their trust, because obviously they trust you, but it's just more about like filling them with confidence that you should go for this. I personally think it's all just about building rationale and explaining yourself well enough and being like, as you can see from all the examples of like the cool brands that are doing stuff really well, those are the risk takers. And like, if something doesn't work, like I really don't think it's the end of the world. Like I think you've got far more opportunity and like trying, testing, okay, that didn't work, but that did, like, no risk, no reward, right? It's as simple as that. So it's just going for that. And then I guess maybe in those kind of brands, they almost need to convince their higher ups that like these kind of risks are worth taking. I think
I love that.
think it's important.
And what are your thoughts on like above the line marketing? Like, yes, you're doing all these digital things. I feel like it's a tough attention space to competing type of thing. But like, I feel like if I see something on my walk to the train station or in the city, I'm walking to my like favorite lunch spot or whatever, and I see something, I'm like, this feels real. Like this feels like it's part of something a bit bigger. Is that what kind of important when you're laying out strategies where online matches kind of offline as well.
Yeah. Like without a doubt. I feel like, you know, I mean, we've been seeing it for a long time now, but it's like this growing interest in like IRL events, like meeting up, like being face to face, like getting off our screens. And like I think, you know, it feels like a protest against social in a way, which I probably shouldn't really be saying, but like it kind of is that, you know, because, you know, people are like, okay, I don't want this chronic screen time, you know, I don't, you know, spending like 12 hours a day on my phone necessarily isn't good for me. I guess that maybe coupled with like the AI slot vibe, maybe everyone's just a bit like, and it's just so funny how like in the beginning everyone was just like, yeah, you need to be jumping on this, and now people are like, oh God, you need to un-AIify it. Like it's wild, right? Like you said, it's just this constant roller coaster. But I feel like it's that kind of context, and you know, kind of almost like the social buzzwords, and I use them every day, so I can't say anything, but it's like, oh, community, oh, authentic, but you know, that in a way it's sad because they have lost a lot of their meaning. But I think people are craving like this more purposeful, like these events, these moments that make you feel connected to something bigger, as you were saying, in like a meaningful way. And also, let's be honest, like as we were saying, like every brand who is trying to be authentic, a lot of them unfortunately are still doing it in a really curated fashion, right? So it's, you know, it's our job to be like, guys, it's not about that. And I think another thing I'm seeing as well, it's like obviously with the, you know, the creator economy last year in the UK at least took over the traditional advertising economy. There was some kind of stat on that, and it's that to me says that okay, people are trusting creators way more than they're trusting brands these days. So it's like, of course they're way more likely to attend like creator centered events or like over like just like a classic brand event. Or it's like, I'm trying to think of, I've seen this girl, I can't remember her name, so don't quote me on this, but she takes girls like round in London and like meeting guys at pubs. So it's kind of like a speed dating, but she's a creator, she coordinates the whole thing, she brings the girly pops together, and I'm like, yeah, that's so clever. Or like there was this wine brand in the UK, like it's like a canned wine called Nice. And they host these nights, and it's like you can basically pitch your mate to a group of single people, which I'm like, that is hilarious and so smart. And I think, you know, brands like that or creators like that obviously thinking, okay, again, like what's the problem here? Right, the problem is that, you know, people aren't meeting people organically, and like maybe people don't want to meet the love of their life on Hinge, so they're just thinking like really smartly about it. And like, yeah, stuff like that, IRL, it's like it's so smart. Even I don't know if you saw, there's this creator, I think she's based in the UK. Again, sorry that I don't have any names for you, but she does these like kind of almost like exposure therapy things in public. Like she'll be on a train and she'll be like, who wants to give me a hug, and silly things like that. And Asda worked with her to for Valentine's Day, and they basically like in store they did two separate baskets. So it was like, you know, green if you're single, red if you're taken, to encourage people to chat. And it's like those little tactics are like so smart, and it is exactly what people should be doing. It's like, okay, what's the problem? How do we tap into it? How do we make it funny? And also, who's the creator to amplify that for us? Like there's so much opportunity and potential there, I think.
I love that. And I think what you touch on, like creators know the problems because if they're any good, they're speaking to their community and their audience, and they kind of know they've already won them over with charm, whether it be entertainment. And it's like, I think people just like, it's like depth of character. Hey, it's like when Netflix come out with a doco about a certain sport and all of a sudden it opens up this massive new audience because they care about the people. They want them to win, or they want to see the struggles, or whatever it is. They want to like go along for the journey. And I think it's so hard to create stuff from scratch, especially when there's no people kind of behind it. Like if it's not a front-facing brand or a hero-facing brand, it's like, how do you create that trust and connection? You know, it's very hard.
Definitely. And like, again, I know we spoke a bit about like community and stuff, but like I've been thinking about this, and I feel like from what I can see, brands who are ahead of the game right now, I think they're less kind of like obsessing over creating like their own communities, and they're more going, all right, like, what communities, what subcultures, what like really niche groups and spaces are out there at the moment, and how can we strategically tap into them? Like that, to me, I'm like, that is the answer. Like, obviously, I guess we've seen this like in the more mainstream vibe at the minute. Maybe it's like a popular run club, and then you've got your sports brands like your Asics, your Solomon, like supporting or doing some kind of pop-up. Like, I feel like that's cool. Obviously, it is kind of done and being done, but like, I'm like, what if these brands are looking at like more of like a niche, like, is it like a crafty night? Or I know in London we've got this poetry night, it's called like Spit Night. It's like that sort of thing, I think. Or, and it doesn't have to be necessarily be a kind of in-person event. Like, obviously it could be like an online space, it could be like more of like a networking WhatsApp group, it could be anything. But I think, like it's like that whole working smarter, not harder. Where are these culture driven spaces, and as a brand, how can we amplify them in a way that is, like we said, like where they're not at the forefront, where they're just super humble about it, and it's it's something that's like really grassroots, and they're kind of just in the background. It's like that they need to be the kind of, I guess, the platform to like amplify, but not to be like, oh, and then put our name in there and say this and mention us there, because it's like people will tune out, and we know people will tune out at this point. So we don't need to be pushy with this. It's I think that is where I feel like things are going, and certainly if I had a brand, that's what I would be doing.
I love that. And do you think there's any instances, like I'm just thinking now, like where people expect ads and kind of like them? Like obviously the Super Bowl, because you see all the brands over there, but like surfing magazines, I feel like that had a certain aesthetic to it where you expected ads and you kind of didn't mind seeing that type of stuff. But there's not many other things that are around where you're like, you know what I mean? Where you're accepting and you're interested,
Yeah, I hear what you mean. I think like maybe like, a collaboration, be that like IRL or on social, a collaboration that's done well, I feel like is like the perfect, because, I'm trying to think of another example. Also, these are really like UK based examples. So sorry if I'm like
No, we're a global pod. We love it.
waffling on one, but I went to a pop-up. This might have even been like 1 or 2 years ago, but it was a collaboration between like Lime Bikes, and they collaborated with like a local East London bakery and also a local meme artist in East London. So it's like, and then they did the pop-up in East London, and it's like so smart. And I think this was even before like they were like known for doing these like really like funny things. But it's like, again, it's like, okay, tapping into like a maybe like a local bakery where like people in this demographic go like on their Saturday mornings the whole time, and then also tapping into like a relatable community location based meme artist. Like that is like, so like that is absolutely just like top tier kind of social content. And I guess with all these kind of like events as well, like in doing so, as we said, if it's cool enough, people will post about it. So it's like, again, it's just that bridge between doing things in real life, but how they translate on social. And again, measuring impact. If you're doing a good enough job offline, like that has to translate online. I feel like there's no way you've done a good job and that isn't being broadcast in one way or the other.
I feel like people are so obvious too when they're like, this is where you get your photo, this is where you thing, and it just feels like you're part of a process to project like an image. It's like, no, like I think one of the coolest things that we done personally with Dream Big Social Club was we had our party, and then I was like, what's something different and like unexpected? And it was like, oh, let's get a magician to walk around and just do some tricks. Because then it's like, even if someone's having the worst time ever, if they get hit up by a magician, they're going to laugh, remember, and just have something to say about it. And it wasn't like a setup, like follow this guy around and shit. It was just more just like be there for the people to make them laugh. And it's like, I think that carries the strongest weight when friends are genuinely like, no, this was sick or this happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it was just like funny and natural. I think that's so true. And also like humor. Like, I don't know about you, but like, especially at the minute, like, humor focused creators, like the little skits, like we can't get enough of them. I feel like that is the content that I will like always return back to. Like one of my favorite like things to watch, it's like again, it's like this like niche kind of content, but it's like this creator, and he his whole niche, his whole like content is literally just him doing an impression of a Jamaican Princess Diana. Like what? Like how did that even come about? But it's, people like just tap in and then you're like lock into like one person, and it's so you just want to kind of then follow like everything they do. And it's like, again, it's that like episodic content, right? And like content people like get used to and are like almost like excited to see it. Like it builds that familiarity. And I was thinking about this earlier as well. I don't know if you feel the same, but I feel like, with attention spans, with this competition for engagement and all of this stuff, I feel like I'm probably scrolling less, but I'm more like fine-tuned into the content that I'm consuming. And I've got maybe like X amount of people who I will like actually watch their stuff. Anything else, I'm not really giving the airtime. Like I feel like and I think my friends are the same. They're like, no, you were, maybe before we were like spreading ourselves super thin with content and like what we were engaging with. And now it feels a lot more intentional. Do you feel that?
Yeah, especially on LinkedIn, like just that's one of the first things I tell people, like if they want to get on LinkedIn more and start getting around it, is just like following the people, like finding who are the voices that you want to like listen to, and also challenge your thoughts, like not live in this echo chamber where you just get the same stuff. So I purposely set mine up where it's just like it could be like opposing views or just like different things that I'm not that interested in, where it's just like getting a bit of a perspective on things. And I think like, yeah, that's really helped me in terms of just like, all right, every time I log into LinkedIn now, I know what to expect and how to engage, which makes it easy. Like I think sometimes before that, I was just like opening up and going, what do I do type of thing. And like Instagram, I've been on TikTok a bit more now lately. Like I feel like I still feel old. Like I go on there and then I'll be on there for like 2 hours and I'm like, what the fuck have I just done? Like,
Yeah, what journey have I just been on? It's like an intense side quest.
yeah. And it's just like happens like once a week and I'm like, fuck, I know as soon as I check it, I can't get off. And I'm just like, and now like if I want to know, like before I buy something, I'll go on TikTok and have a look and just see who's done a review on this. Like,
Mate, absolutely.
you know?
I feel like TikTok is just the platform for discovery, research, and like also when people are thinking about like their strategies and stuff, how much does your product or service tie into something that people are researching, like social search, like all of that sort of stuff. I think that's absolutely, I don't know how you're kind of like dealing with it or like what you're recommending to clients, but it's like that age-old question where they're like, should we be on every platform? And it's like, well, the answer to that is literally what are you trying to achieve? Like, you know what I mean? It's and it totally depends on that. I feel LinkedIn, huge opportunity space at the minute. I mean, obviously you've carved out your whole thing and you know what like people are interested in and what you've like tapped into and stuff. I don't know if you find this as well, but I also think it's like giving less thought and just, those like thoughts when you're like on the bus and you're like having a little daydream. I think it's that sort of stuff that people are actually, because most of the time they're like, oh yeah, I was walking and I helped this person on my way to work. Like, no, like we're done with that. Like, please, no more. I think it just needs to be like, share your weird thoughts because like the chances are someone else is feeling that.
Oh, 100%. That's always like top of mind too. It's like, is this an easy post for people to comment on too? It's just like, don't make it hard. Like, I see like these long drawn out stories. Sometimes I'm like, I can't be bothered reading it unless I know it's like a reputable like company or something that's just like immediately like I've got their trust and respect. Like I'll read it, but it's like, I don't know. I think like anyone can sort of play, but it's like you can really see the ones who take things serious, like intentional. Like I think intent is everything, isn't it? Like when you're just like, especially broadcasting your stuff and trying to like,
Yeah.
a story.
Yeah. And it's like what you just said as well. You were like, you'll read the content of people, companies that you trust, but like they had to kind of build that trust. And again, it's that whole, I think for everyone's like, talking about the minute, oh, it's like the return of like longer form content. And like, as I said, like for a long time, it was like everything. Like, do you remember when there was like, I think it was like a few years ago, but it was like everything was like short form and it was like dominating. People were like, no, a video cannot possibly be longer than like 5 seconds long. And like, absolutely, I think that is still the case. Everything is like shorter, snappier, and a lot of the time it needs to be. But like, as I said, like people are now spreading themselves less thin. They're locking into the people they trust, the brands that they know do fun things, the creators that they think aren't just like spurting all the same shit. And they're like locking in. And then this, I feel, is where it's the opportunity to then, you know, build out longer form content on like different platforms, you know, be it Substack or like, I don't know, like as a brand, maybe tapping into Reddit or different things like that. But it's like, you know, building that out when you know people are like locked in. Like for me as well, I don't know if you're the same, but like if I'm locked into a brand, oh yeah, best believe like I'm listening to like any podcast they're to do with, or like like a Substack they might have like sponsored. All this, it's same with creators, like because yeah, you know they've got interesting things to say. You're happy to receive their newsletters. You're not like ew, unsubscribe. So people are locked in. People enjoy it. And yeah.
And the brands that have those like obsessive cult followings, I feel like they know the importance of staying true to their audience, like because they know that collaborating with someone or doing something with someone holds a lot of weight because people are automatically going to trust that. And it's like you can break the trust by doing some stupid stuff or things that don't make sense, you know, whether it's just like profit chasing. And I think like brands that I like obviously are like Liquid Death, like the obvious ones. And it's like it gives you so many reasons why people would share. Like if they get involved with pop culture and they have someone in that everyone knows and people can respect that, or they know them from that, or people can respect like the humor. So people who like there's so many reasons why someone would share their stuff. And I think like it's part of your identity as well. If something's cool and edgy, you want to be seen as cool and edgy. So that's the type of stuff that you share.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And it's like, and also it goes back to what we were saying about like metrics, but like, you know, why are brands not more concerned about like shares and saves? I'm like, hello guys, like the like is just so like second best compared to those in my opinion anyway. It's like you said, it's that shareability. Like, okay, you know, why are you sharing content? Either because something's made you laugh, or it's made you think of your mate, you want to share that with them, or it's like useful maybe to someone else. And then I guess saves, people are saving content because it's educational. And I feel like as well, like there definitely has been this shift in like in both brands and creators and people just trying to create content that like I guess is more like tangible. And I think we spoke about this earlier, but it's almost about like bringing, you know, it's content is less passive, right? So it's about, okay, let's bring people into our world. Like, let's let them experience it in a way that isn't passive, but that they can get involved with, you know, they can like share their ideas and then we can talk about them. We can acknowledge those ideas, like all of that kind of thing, because obviously social hasn't been like just a one-way street for a long time. Like Twitter made everything kind of a two-way conversation. But I think now it's like, it's getting people to feel like they are in this world with you that you've created, and they want to be a part of that. Like they want this sense of belonging, as he said, like it's social media, but we feel like less social than ever. So people just want to feel a part of something cool that aligns with like their own beliefs. Like, and I think, you know, obviously for ages brands have been talking about being purpose driven, but like really purpose driven, like things that people actually, you know, care about. I guess like also like, you know, ways to engage and interact, like live features can be really good for that. Obviously they've been around for a long time, but it's like, again, it's like tapping into something that feels like reactive rather than passive. And like I follow, there's this clothing brand in the UK called Ruby Lou, and I absolutely love them because so much of what they do is like asking for like all their followers like opinions and questions. It's like, okay, we're going to do a new product drop, but like you get to pick what the slogan is on the tee and stuff like that. And I'm like, again, it's just so smart. It's like, it brings people in, and like whether maybe it's like subconsciously, they might not even realize how much they're enjoying it and engaging with it, but it's that repetition, like it makes such a big difference.
I love that word interaction. I feel like that's going to be a big one moving forward, with just like participating and feeling involved in something that you love. Like what I like, that's why like those reality shows have worked with those voting things for so long. It keeps people engaged. It's why people want to tune in, because their decisions can influence outcomes in things that you're like, that's crazy. It feels like video gamey type of thing, like behaviors.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like yeah, it's smart, and like, but it's also like so simple. I'm like, can you imagine if like everyone just had that perspective of, okay, let's just tweak this approach slightly to just reel people in more, to like, to show that like their opinion is like valued and like valid. Because as you said, there's so much talk about community, but it's like, how much are you actually listening to them? Like, how can you prove that you have listened to what they've said? And I think like, I mean, you see people do it all the time, but like where like, something from the comment section has literally been made into a piece of content, or it's been like stitched onto a TikTok or whatever. I'm like, yes, this is smart. This shows you are listening. It's if it is really a two-way street, I think the brands should be listening just as much as they are, speaking.
I love that. And if you're listening to this and you love this episode, make sure you share it so we know. And we can get that reassurance that we're doing a good thing. But honestly, Medya, it's been awesome, like picking your brain. I feel like we'll need to do this again later in the year when a million other things change in our world. But
It's been so fun, mate. Thank you so much. It's been great.
I feel pumped after this chat. Like, I feel like I don't want to go to bed. I'm sitting here in the dark. I actually want to
Yeah. And it's like bright sunshine here, and you're like, whoa, I'm pretty pumped.
buddy, pumped. So thank you so much.
Thanks, mate. So nice talking to you.